Wait a minute, I hear something.
Dr. Movie! Dr. Movie! Movie reviews! Dr. Movie! Dr. Movie! Yeah!
Hey everybody, it's that time again. Time for another episode of Dr. Movie. That's right, mini reviews. Little short shows I do while I'm driving my car. Short shows, say that real fast 7 times. You don't have to, I'm just saying, figure of speech. Anywho, back with another episode, and I'm getting back into that drive-in Hicksploitation kind of mood. And I found this movie on YouTube, never seen it before, but when I saw the name of it and when it came out, I was like, I gotta watch it. And that movie is Six Pack Annie. Who doesn't want to watch a movie called Six Pack Annie? A lot of images come to mind when you think of that. And ironically, none of them are in this movie. Yeah, 1975, and it says comedy action. There's a lot of action going on because it's not really a car chase movie like all the other Hicksploitation things. This is, well, you'll hear as we go along. But yeah, you can watch this on YouTube if you wanna. You may have a hard time finding it, but it's out there. I found it by accident. And if you have trouble finding it, let me know, and I'll try to send you a link if you contact me. I mean, you're not telekinetic either, because that doesn't really work. I can't spell all those hash marks and stuff to get you to that. But anyways, drop me a line, yo, and I will gladly send you in the right direction. So yeah, Six Pack Annie. It's got a 4 out of 10 on IMDb, which is, not bad. This is an American International Pictures, so that opens up a whole can of worms too when you think about it. Oh yeah, that sounds like something they would do, like Smokey and the Hot Wire Gang, right? When there wasn't even really a Smokey in it. And I'll tell you something else too, because one of the people that's in this movie, briefly, is another person from Green Acres. And Smokey and Hot Wire Gang, you had Mr. Kimball from Green Acres, and in this movie you got one of the other guys. I can't remember what character he plays. He's the carpenter. Him and his brother, or it's really a sister, but they calls it his brother the whole time. Anyways, we'll get to it in a minute. But I wonder if there was some kind of tie-in between American International Pictures and the producers or the financial backers or whatever of Green Acres. Because it's kind of a, what a thing to have one of them in there, but to have two, kind of going, all right, something's happening here. There must be some kind of connection. But yeah, anywho, let's do a synopsis here, which is taking its sweet time to pull up while I'm trying to not run off the road. Let's look here. Here we go. I mean, Six Pack Annie, right? It says, busty blonde and beautiful Six Pack Annie seeks to help her Aunt Tess raise $5,000 for the family diner by trying to find a rich daddy. Yeah, she's looking for a sugar daddy. Yeah, that's pretty true. That's a pretty good synopsis, I think. Let's talk about our cast. And some surprising faces in here. We got Lindsay Bloom in here, who plays Six Pack Annie, and she went on to be on Hammer, the TV show, not MC Hammer. let me clarify. She was on Hammer. Can't touch this, right? Too legit to quit. No, she was on the TV show Hammer. Who was that? Stacy Keach? I'm thinking Keach. Could be wrong. I think that's right. Didn't look anything like this. So there you go. Main characters, I mean, you got Bruce Boxleitner in this, which was kind of a surprise because this is early film. I mean, if you know him, if you've ever seen Tron, Yeah, I mean, he was Tron. There you go. You got, he was in, what was the TV show? Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Yeah, I believe that's right. He was in a lot of stuff. How the West Was Won, the Gambler TV show, Babylon 5. Forgot about that. So yeah, he's one of those people when you see me, oh yeah, I know him. Now we got a return here from Last American Virgin. We got Louisa Mortiz in this. She was the one that seduced the guys till her husband came home, and in this one, she is Six Pack Annie's sister, Flora, and she's moved to the big town and is living on Easy Street because she's basically a hooker. More into that in a little bit. We got Pedro Gonzalez in this. Ton of westerns, right? The guy's been in, I mean, when you see the guy, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen him in 100 things. A lot of John Wayne flicks, actually. He's in a lot of stuff. Sid Melton, that's the guy I was talking about that was from Green Acres. And we get a brief, like the last, I don't know, 20 seconds of the movie, we get Billy Barty. Now, somehow I'm going to tie all this in together, because how do you end with Billy Barty, right? So yeah, let's go through this, right? Six Pack Annie. It starts off with Six Pack Annie getting this old mid-40s model Ford truck. I think it's a Ford truck, maybe a Chevy truck. And guess what she has with her? That's right, a six-pack. Because, you know, you have to open the movie with what you called it, right? And her and her best friend jump in the car, and they're taking off down the road, and they get pulled over by this guy who really is after either one of them. And he's like, hey, I'll race you to the diner, and if I get there first, then you have to go out with me. So we get a little bit of a Hicksploitation car chase here at the beginning. You're like, okay, I'm sold, right? Because you know I like that kind of stuff. And it's got some pretty good stuff where they cut through a pasture, you know, dodging cows and stuff. And lo and behold, when they come back out on the main road, you know, they've passed the guy that was ahead of them, but they pass right in front of a sheriff. And of course, now the sheriff's going to chase after them, right? And the girls beat him to the diner, so nothing happens there. And, you know, you kind of get the setup of this little mom and pop type diner. It's owned by Tess, Aunt Tess, who's taking care of Annie. We don't know the backstory or why, but Annie works there. Her best friend, I think, works there as well. And it turns out that the people that own the building, you know, that's giving them the lease or whatever, they're in a lot of trouble because they haven't paid any of their payments in a while. They're like 3 months behind without the interest and everything. And like I said in the synopsis, it's actually more like closer to $6,000 they got to raise to take care of, you know, what they owe and to keep the diner, right? And so Aunt Tess is, you know, rocking and reeling over this because things are just not going well. Well, there's this other story I have to tie in. It's very bachelor party-ish, I guess. I think it's the same guy from before that was chasing them. Comes in the diner with his buddy. Big, massive dude, right? Big, built-up, muscular guy. And he's introducing Six Pack Annie's buddy. What was her name? Dang it. She was Mary Lou. And he's introducing Mary Lou to this guy whose name is John. But all the ladies call him Long John, right? And he sweet talks this girl into, hey, you know, you want to go out with him because, you know, he can take care of things, right? So this lady's all intrigued, and she's like, oh, what's the cost? He's like, the only cost is for you to get Annie to go out with me. So she tries to work out the deal, doesn't work out too well, because she's got a boyfriend, and that's Bruce Bottleiner's character, Bobby Joe. Bobby Joe! Brett, if you're listening, that's for you. Bobby Joe! Where are you, boy? And there's this scene where they're having this big party. It's supposed to be that night. I can't remember if it's just a dance or whatever it is. But you got the boyfriend, Bobby Joe, and this cowboy dude sitting at the same table, both trying to get Annie. And they get into a fight. But I have to say, during this whole scene, Annie's playing the piano, and Mary Lou is singing this song called, I'm going to misquote it, I think it's like Big Hot Nuts. Oh, man. And everybody's singing along. It's like almost like a barroom sing-along type thing, right? But it's obviously, sexual innuendos without a doubt. Because when I see those big hot nuts, I lose my mind, things like that, right? The fight breaks out, and that kind of ends the night. I just had to bring up that song because it's ridiculous. At this point, Annie and Mary Lou decide they're going to go to Florida, where her sister lives, and try to find them a sugar daddy to pay all this stuff off. So they're willing to do whatever it takes to get this money, right? They're going to use their assets. And this is where a lot of the shenanigans begin, right? Because there's all these weirdos. And like I said, her sister is just like, there's dudes at her house all the time just going in and out. And that's where the guy from Green Acres pops in, because he's a married guy that knocks on her door, and there's a big comedy skit there. Oh, I gotta remember, too, there's these two guys at the diner, a couple of old dudes, almost like the old guys on the Muppet Show that sit up in the booth. They're just cracking one-liners the whole time through this movie. And it's just stuff like, hey, how's your wife, Will? And he's like, compared to what? And there's one joke where he says, well, Bill, I found out that my wife is a liar. And he's like, oh, really? He said, yeah, she was out last night, didn't come home, and I asked her where she was. She said she was out with her sister, Loretta. And I was like, she's lying, because I was with her sister. So just, goofy little things like that kind of gave a little smirk listening to it, right? So yeah, the girls go to the big town. They're staying with Flora, and Flora, like I said, is very busy and pretty much naked, or at least in a see-through negligee every scene she's in, which is what she's known for. Louisa Mortiz, she was in a lot of stuff where it's just showing the skin. Annie decides that Mary Lou is going to be her manager, and they start looking up people, and they find this one guy who's super rich, and they go to his house, and Mary Lou acts like she's a manager, and she's trying to work out a contract, all this kind of goofy stuff. And it gets down to paying the tax. And they go back in the bedroom, and Mary Lou leaves, and Annie's gonna take care of business. And he lays out this real pretty negligee for her to wear and some shoes, right? So she's all like, oh, this is fancy stuff. He disappears and comes back, and he's just like Napoleon, and he's on a stick horse riding around with a sword. And again, we're talking about the majority of this movie is super southern Hicksploitation, so that freaks her out. Annie leaves, right? So there's one gone. There's this scene at a bar that she goes and tries to pick up guys all the time, and there's this cowboy there who's drinking these humongous drinks that are in a coconut shell, and he's pretty hilarious too. Probably one of the main reasons to watch this movie, just to see this guy. And he never leaves. This whole situation, it's like 2 or 3 days here where these girls are out and trying to find guys and, all this business. And this guy's sitting here at this bar the entire time drinking these drinks, and they're just, those coconut shells are just piling up. And she's sitting there with him one night, and this guy comes up, and his name is Oscar. And he goes out and buys a real fancy, like, engagement ring kind of thing. Goes and books a room in her name, not telling her, but he acted like he did it off because he was going to, you know, he's a money man, right? He's going to take care of things. But really, he was just kind of a gigolo. And when she wakes up the next day, he took all of her money and pretty much skipped town, right? So that's kind of that story, too. So, again, you get all this mischief going on, all this stuff. And when it all comes down to it, she ends up hooking up with this cowboy guy that's at the bars drinking all the drinks, right? They take it back to his place because he can hardly even stand up. So the two girls take him and take him back to his place. And she starts undressing him to get him into bed. Not because of anything sexual, just because they're trying to help the guy out. And of course, he's like, hey, look at that, you know. And at first you think he's going to make a move on her, then he just kind of says, forget all that. And then she brings up something about needing some money to take care of something. She's going to lose her mom or her aunt's business. He's like, oh, how much you need? And apparently this guy is loaded, right? And she tells him like $6,000. He's like, chicken feed. And he just gives her the money, right? But when he gives her the money, his wife shows up, and she's like Annie Oakley. She's coming in this Western outfit with a shotgun. So again, it's just crazy, comedy, 70s Southern stuff, right? I don't know how else to explain it. That's what it is. It's a drive-in movie, folks. They get back home. There's other chaos and stuff that happens. But at the end of the day, guess what? They save the diner, right? That's the whole point of the thing, right? So it works out for the best. And everybody lives happily ever after. And then the sheriff comes in and gets hit in the face with a pie by Billy Barty. I mean, the whole point of Billy Barty being in this is just like, hey, we need a short person. That's all we need. That'll cap this off. So there he is. You know what? I had a lot of fun with this. It's not great. It's really not that good. But there's something about it I enjoyed. I guess because it takes me back to riding in a like a mid-70s Duster and going to a drive-in with my aunt and her boyfriend, husband, whatever he was at the time, because they would take me to go to see these drive-in flicks. And it really takes me back to that kind of stuff. I would give this a 3 out of 5, I guess. I mean, if you like this kind of stuff. If you don't like this kind of stuff, it's probably a 1 out of 5. But I happen to like this kind of stuff. So there you go. That's my take on Six Pack Annie, where she drinks a 6-pack once. Actually, she asked for one a second time, but does she really get it? Only one way to find out. You got to watch the movie. So there you go. That's it, folks. If you got any requests or anything, drop me a line. Send me a fax. Let me know. I'll do what I can for you. Because the eyes of the South are upon you. All right, folks. That's it for this one. We will check you later.
Dr. Movie! Dr. Movie!